Without further ado, I would like to welcome Miss Thane up here to talk to you about art therapy.
For my entire life, I've been interested in art and the aspect of healing using art. My mother is a music therapist, so I see how it affects her clients on a daily basis. Since I was young, I experimented with clay, paint, and sketching. Last summer, I got introduced to the therapy aspect of art. My mom had met a woman from Dubai named Cynthia Gonzalez, who came to Vancouver to facilitate an art therapy session for my mother and her coworkers. Thankfully, I was allowed to join in during her class. This is the first thing that inspired me to choose art therapy for my Masterworks, as I wanted to learn more about this topic as it connects deeply to me and my family. I wanted to be able to facilitate my own sessions with my peers and learn more. Hello, my name is Oliva Thane, and today I will be talking to you about art therapy and the brain. First off, I'd like to ask a quick question. Who here in the audience has used some form of art like doodling, painting, or sketching as a way of de-stressing? Raise your hand. In this presentation, I will touch on 4 separate topics. What is art therapy? What is the brain structure behind art therapy? The effects it has, and lastly, my personal research and what I did. Creative response therapy and art therapy are the nonverbal expression of emotions, feelings, and thoughts through art. It is the process of connecting your emotions and feelings into an art form, such as painting or clay modeling. It also facilitates free self-expression using imagery, color, and shape. Art therapists facilitate the therapy and are required to at least have a master's degree or master's level diploma in this science before classifying themselves as an art therapist. There are many benefits to using art therapy that make it effective for all age groups. It can help as a treatment with those with disabilities or those suffering from depression and anxiety. For example, art therapy can help people with depression talk about their feelings and what might trigger them. What differs art therapy from regular therapy is that with art, you can speak through expression, and it's much easier to paint, for example, than to talk physically to a therapist. It can also help people express their emotions and manage addictions. Using therapeutic art can help pain sufferers gain knowledge about their attitudes and emotions that can help them manage their behavior. The same is true for people who have drug usage problems. Art therapy can focus on helping mend a child's discomfort or disability, such as cognitive delay. There are many ways art therapy can help those with disabilities, such as giving them self-confidence and belief in their own abilities. People with disabilities are often feeling like some things are just out of their control. Art puts the power back into their hands. In all of these examples, there is a common theme. This is expression through art, experiences, which allows them to speak without talking at all. Art therapy also fosters the communication between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. This is important because the right side holds memories, whereas the left side is in charge of verbal capacity, which is the ability to comprehend concepts expressed through words. This communication is what causes positive cognitive changes in people with disabilities. Cognitive development is the construction of thought processes, such as remembering, problem-solving, and decision-making. Several prominent art therapists, including Kaplan, Macchiotti, and McNiff, have pointed out the importance of knowing the basic brain structure in order to really understand the connection between the mind and body. According to Macchiotti, art therapy is a mind-body interaction because it allows both the mind and the body to communicate with one another, creating a balance. These studies can help make general assumptions about the connections between visual expression in art and the brain structure. In an art therapy session, the purpose is to access the many areas of the brain, enabling different sensory modalities to fully express themselves during a session. Each modality is unique. Modalities are specific topics such as painting and clay that are chosen by the therapist depending on the needs of the client. The session allows a safe place for free expression, which immediately catalyzes a healing mechanism for the person. The inner organization or psyche of the person can sometimes desire to take action, for example, express one's truth outside of the painting context. It can also express strong emotion, for example, different grieving processes. Sometimes it can become frozen or numb because the content is too strong. The person might not be quite ready yet. Sometimes you can even become defensive. Art therapy relaxes and opens up the mind and brain and helps guide these feelings and channel them into something constructive. Once the initial, maybe awkward feeling ends, the client can experience the many different skills they can gain from art therapy. Visual representation is a big factor of school and work. For example, when asked to present information to a class, you can use your skills in visual representation by creating an interesting diagram, drawing, or video expressing your knowledge you've learned. By participating in an art therapy session, your confidence and skills in self-expression increase. Work habits and character traits are critically important in education. Art therapy can influence these work habits positively by allowing the brain to increase its learning capacity. Patience and delayed gratification are also developed throughout art activities because it takes time for an image to be developed. Emotional intelligence is being connected to your emotions and evolving to understand them in more depth. It is also perceiving and understanding another's emotions. In art therapy, emotions are highly focused on. When in an art therapy session, a participant's emotional intelligence is supported. In the end, he or she is requested to name and verbally describe all the elements, colors, and symbols in an artwork, and give the voice to first person to an element. This contributes to the participant's emotional intelligence, making them understand how their art reflects on their personal and inner life. Art therapy educates participants how to process and benefit from their emotions. First, it is important to express emotional content that may be stored within themselves for years and even decades. It is important to have a mastery over one's emotions so they do not overtake one's life. This mastery is important to develop and learn because emotions can rule over one's life, decisions, and overall mood. Art therapy works by being a secure channel for your thoughts and emotions to pass through. The therapist then encourages the client to express the content of the art created, coming closer and deeper to the emotions and the connection from the psyche wanting to be processed and integrated. Art therapy with adolescents is highly beneficial in supporting physiological maturation. It teaches how to work with and process the unavoidable emotions that will arise, rather than just suppressing or overindulging in them. It gives the participant a safe setting to fully purge any necessary strong emotions. Art therapy experiences also give expression to the more unconscious emotions that may have not been fully admitted to. Childhood maturation is so important to the development of one's mental and physical health. That is why this type of therapy with adolescents is crucial. Art therapy helps by maturing the mind and helping the child concentrate on life and major life decisions. Some of these might be identifying their feelings so they can be better in the future with managing with them. The reason art can do this is because it focuses the mind and shifts thought to more important life events. It can also benefit a child's mind by extending his or her field of thought, allowing them to think deeper about situations. A long time ago, art was used to communicate feelings via cave paintings. The people before us used art to express love, hate, and other emotions. This created a mutual bond between people and something they liked. The act of doing something in a group can be very helpful for those who struggle with social situations, because each participant will recognize themselves in each other, especially with their shared human vulnerability. It is also constructive to have others compliment your work or to encourage someone to compliment another's work. It can be challenging to articulate an authentic aspect of oneself or one's work, but it will help greatly. In art therapy, it is not about the aesthetic value, but rather the value of being the most authentic. The participant is not required to talk during that art activity, so they are able to express themselves through their art. The act of doing something in unison creates equality. We all define ourselves in different ways. Our levels in self-confidence are constantly changing. We can become more in touch with ourselves and learn to love our flaws by connecting with our feelings, having compassion for these flaws, forgiving them, and accepting them. Art helps connect the mind and body to create a wholesomeness within oneself. Art enhances our senses and allows our minds to go deeper into self-exploration. Art therapy focuses on self-discovery and learning how to develop one's self-confidence and trust within oneself. This can be done through listening to one's intuition, rather feeling intuitively what color to choose, or how to move one's left hand in the actual activity. One of the main reasons people pursue an art activity is to reduce their stress level. Drawing on or painting can be a distraction from conflicts or whatever may cause the stress. By incorporating these conflicts and stresses into art, with practice, there's a chance to achieve clarity and face problems head-on. Next, I'll be talking about the 6 modalities commonly used. The participant and/or the teacher will choose which modality fits the need in that certain situation. Each modality targets a certain type of therapeutic practice the participant requires. For example, if the participant struggles with shapes and touch, the therapist might use clay for the session's focus. After each activity, the therapist goes over the art and discusses it in a deeper style. The art often connects to the participant's subconscious mind, therefore helping the participant become aware of their feelings and troubles. In the session I participated in, we started with a blank canvas. Cynthia had put on some relaxing music for us to listen to, and we started by picking our first color. It was important to only work with one color at a time so we could have a clear focus, but we could come back to the other ones later. Once we finished the painting, we described what was on our paintings, using 3 different adjectives. We were told to find a certain shape, color, object, or line of the painting and give it its own voice. Maybe it was something that stood out, or just something we liked. Either way, the color, shape, or hue of an object can help a certain situation. After this session, I decided I wanted to share this experience with the students of IPS. This refers to creating art without previous thought on what you're going to paint. Each handstroke or paintbrush must come from your inner directive. The inner directive is the unconscious attempting to become conscious through one's handstroke. Similar to spontaneous painting, the participant must try to use their inner directive to complete the task. While molding and shaping the clay, the participant is using a deeper directive. While doing this exercise, it is helpful to be blindfolded to remove critical eye. This exercise starts by choosing images to put together in a collage. Some of these images we can enjoy, and some we are disgusted by, but they're to be put in the collage anyway if we are called to them. The process of making a face mask can activate one's self-image. The participants can find it calming or very irritating, as if they're being constantly watched and judged. Coloring mandalas is a great source of meditation and stress relief, as it is very calming and helps the participant focus. The participant begins by choosing if they want to start from scratch or use a pre-made mandala. In sand mandalas, there is an awareness that at the end of the session, the participant's art will be brushed away. This can trigger many emotions, including pending or current death. The participant begins by choosing his or her color of sand and then starts to fill in the desired shapes and sections with the sand. I know many people who struggle with self-confidence and are anxious in stressful situations. I was blown away when I participated in an actual art therapy session and learned how impactful it can be. My mother is a music therapist, so I know firsthand how creative arts therapy affects adolescents positively. I've seen all the different activities she does and how they connect to therapeutic practices. I decided to run my own art therapy sessions to fully educate myself and others on these major impacts. My advisor and I then sent out a proposal to our principal asking to hold these sessions once a week at lunch. Once we knew these sessions were happening, I started gathering information on how to run a session and all the different activities. Most of the information came from my external advisor's website. She had many different tips to complete during a session. I decided instead of a discussion period after the activity, I would send out a survey with detailed questions for the participants. This is because we had a limited time period of around 45 minutes. I created a permission form that was sent out to all the interested participants to sign. Once the first session was over, I sent out a survey asking the participants how they felt after the activity, if painting with their left hand got easier, and so on. Once I got back the surveys from the first 3 sessions, I started to notice some repetition. Most of the people felt relaxed while working, but some of them expressed anxiety while painting under pressure. The people who felt this anxiety were using more of a critical eye. They worried about the result, not the process. Throughout the next few sessions, I noticed these people starting to relax and be more spontaneous with their work. It was great to see them now creating something they loved. As I continued the sessions, I decided to join in myself. The reason I didn't in the beginning was because I wanted to watch over the people and make mental notes on how they cooperated. When I joined in the session, I contributed to the calm atmosphere. while I kept a vigilant watch to see if I was needed as a facilitator at any point. When facilitating an art therapy session, it is important to first begin with the rules and guidelines. This regimen can be changed to fit a certain participant's needs. To begin, the therapist states what they're going to be doing that day. They might start with a visualization to relax and inspire the participant. Throughout the session, the therapist might adapt his or her activities and visualizations to fit the client. It is important to recognize each person's needs throughout the session and after when they discuss their art. Often, the writing and visualization exercises are extremely beneficial. These experiences give the participant the power to decipher and decode their own subconscious mind. It empowers the individual. If I were to do these sessions again, I would have done a few things differently. First off, I was unfortunately unable to do the writing exercises or visualizations, as we only had around 45 minutes to complete the task. I focused more on allowing my participants to just paint freely and creatively. In a more professional setting, I would have set up different visualization exercises, and I would have separate time for sharing at the end. I would have done a few classes on each modality instead of just doing spontaneous painting in one class of claywork. I believe this could have given diversity and allowed my participants to each react to each individual activity. This would have helped me understand the other modalities in a deeper context. To conclude, after reflecting on the process and research I've done, I feel well educated in the practice of art therapy. I learned the skills that a therapist uses to aid a person who may be struggling with self-expression. Art therapy is a form of physiotherapy involving the encouragement of free self-expression through different mediums. While researching, I found many different papers on art therapy and the brain. This included my mother's own paper from university. These writings really helped me get detailed information and made the process very constructive. These resources helped me gain knowledge on how to structure and facilitate an art therapy session. It all started when I went to my first session. I felt the need to not only know more about the subject, but to teach others. The process was difficult at first, as I had to research and recognize how to facilitate a session. Once the sessions begun, it got easier and the participants became more and more excited for each coming session. I realized the effect on my peers was quite positive. In my surveys, I asked them questions like, how did you feel after the session? And did you feel it was all stressful? Almost all of my participants answered with the similar feedback. They felt de-stressed and almost completely relaxed. I found the most interesting aspect is the core value of art therapy, which is the ability to use self-expression through art. The amount of things you can learn about yourself by going through only one session is incredible. The most difficult component of this project for me was the initial understanding of the topic. It took me a few sessions and Skype meetings with my advisors to fully appreciate this practice. I feel even though I might not take on becoming an art therapist as a career, I have enough knowledge to maybe facilitate some sessions for my friends and family in the future. First off, I would like to thank Scott and IPS for allowing me to use the school facilities and being in full support of me trying out these new experiences with the students of IPS. Thank you to the students who participated in my sessions. I appreciate your openness and willingness to be vulnerable and take part in authentic experiences that may be very unfamiliar to you and uncomfortable. Next, I would like to thank Charlotte. She's been my guide through this journey. She kept me organized and motivated. She was always supportive and encouraging. I knew she was interested in this topic from the first time we spoke about it. She's very creative and inspiring, especially when it comes to the sessions. Charlotte kept things fun and positive and helped flesh out my ideas. I could have not met the deadline without her. An important world-class mentor from afar helped me make this Masterworks possible. Thank you to Cynthia for her extensive knowledge and research as a pioneer for over 30 years in this field. I could have not found access to a better expert on this subject matter. She directed me through the facilitation of art therapy sessions, was always enthusiastic about teaching me, and stayed up late to meet me across the world in Dubai. Last but not least, I would like to thank my parents for buying all the art supplies for my sessions and being so supportive during this process. Thank you for bringing me to Paris to introduce me to the world of art. One of the great things was that my mother wrote a paper on art therapy in her music therapy training, only to hand it to me 20 years later. I've been constantly inspired by my mother's entire career and being exposed to a household of clients 6 days a week. This allowed me to understand from a young age what creative arts can do for all people's well-being. Thank you.
I would like to conclude the last session by announcing to everyone that Miss Olivia Thane has done an excellent job at her Masterworks and met all the requirements. You have to look at them too.